Imagine achieving your absolute wildest dream. Like you're about to be handed the highest office in the land, right? The wealth of an entire empire.
The ultimate promotion.
Exactly, the ultimate promotion. The celebration's already started out in the streets, but then you wake up the very next morning, and not only is the promotion gone, but you're ordered to walk out of your palace.
Right.
Wearing, like, clothes made of tree bark, and you have to live in this treacherous, unforgiving wilderness for 14 years.
It's unimaginable for most people.
Unimaginable. I mean, for most of us, the reaction would be, explosive. There'd be lawsuits, screaming matches, a bitter PR campaign, basically an absolute meltdown of the ego.
Oh, yeah. Pure chaos.
But the central figure in the text we're looking at today, he experiences this exact catastrophic reversal of fortune, and he simply says, well, a kingdom and a forest are the same to me.
Yeah, he just accepts it.
And he turns, and he literally walks into the woods.
It's really one of the most arresting opening scenarios in world literature. We are talking, of course, about the Valmiki Ramayana.
Yes.
And, relying heavily on the meticulous, unabridged Gita Press edition for our analysis today, we find that it's not merely a story of ancient royals or, mythological battles.
Right. It's so much more than that.
It really is. It's a profound and incredibly demanding examination of human behavior under, the most extreme pressure imaginable.
And that's exactly the mission for our deep dive today. We're taking a comprehensive look at the Ramayana, but we're stripping away the assumption that it's just a religious epic or, a bedtime story for children.
Yeah, that's a crucial distinction.
Right, because we're analyzing it as an architectural blueprint for navigating modern life. For you listening, it details the mechanics of duty, the really agonizing realities of sacrifice, and the ultimate triumph of unyielding truth.
Yeah, and to ground our discussion, it's vital to understand how the tradition itself views this text. Historically and culturally, the Valmiki Ramayana is known as the Adi Kavya.
The first poem.
Exactly, the first poem. It's the Kavya Bij, the seed from which all subsequent poetry and narrative structure in the region sprouts.
Wow, so it's foundational.
Utterly foundational. But its primary function is to serve as a bridge, between the limitations of the human condition and the perfection of the divine.
And it's all structured around that core concept, right? Dharma.
Right, Dharma, which is this incredibly complex term encompassing duty, righteousness, cosmic law, and integrity. The text is fundamentally a map showing a person how they ought to act when every available choice seems, impossible.
Yeah, I tend to view this text as like a foundational grammar of human behavior. In language, if you understand the grammatical rules, you can construct a coherent sentence.
Right.
If you ignore them, you just get gibberish. And in the Ramayana, the rules are based on integrity and duty versus selfish desire and immediate gratification.
That's a great way to look at it.
Because when the characters align their actions with that grammar of truth, the ultimate outcome, despite some truly horrific suffering along the way, is a restoration of order. But when they give in to ego, the structure just collapses into chaos.
That structural view is entirely accurate to the text. I mean, the scenarios we're going to unpack today are profoundly relevant to you, the listener.
Totally.
The settings might involve, golden chariots and ancient forests, but the underlying psychology, it's identical to what we face today.
We're basically looking at an ancient API for modern life.
Yes. We're going to look at how to manage complex organizations, how to navigate deeply charged family disputes, and this is a big one, how to maintain moral authority in a culture that frequently rewards corruption.
Yeah, the Ramayana provides this timeless framework for those exact modern dilemmas. But before we explore the framework itself, we kind of have to look at the architect, right? Because who actually wrote this grammar of behavior? Maharishi Valmiki, the author of the epic, he doesn't start his life as this serene, enlightened sage meditating on a pristine mountaintop. His origin story is, it's incredibly dark.
Oh, it's a stark contrast to the wisdom he eventually imparts. According to the traditional accounts, in his early life, or as some interpretations suggest, a previous life, Valmiki was a hunter of Yada.
So immersed in violence.
Completely. His existence was entirely defined by violence, survival, and extraction. He hunted to eat, he robbed to survive, and he was completely, untethered from any concept of dharma or spiritual inquiry.
He was just deeply entrenched in a gritty, brutal, purely materialistic reality.
Exactly. He is arguably the furthest thing from a spiritual visionary.
Right, he's a man whose entire nervous system is wired for immediate violent survival.
And his transformation, it doesn't occur in an instant of magical enlightenment. It requires this grueling mechanical process.
Walk us through that, because the mechanism is fascinating.
So the lore tells us that he encounters the Saptarishi, the 7 great sages. They observe his state, and rather than offering him, a complex philosophical treatise that he wouldn't even understand.
Which would just bounce right off him, yeah.
Right. They give him a single phonetic tool. They instruct him to chant the name Rama.
Okay.
But because his mind and his tongue are so deeply conditioned by a life of killing, he physically and psychologically cannot form the word.
Wow. His own neural pathways are basically blocking him.
Precisely. So the sages give him an alternative. They tell him to chant Mara.
Which means die or kill.
Yes. This was a vocabulary he intimately understood.
This is such a fascinating psychological hack. He takes the exact phonetic reality of his violent life, Mara, 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 and through sheer unyielding repetition, the syllables begin to bleed into one another.
Until the pattern inverts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Becoming Rama, Rama, Rama.
Mm-hmm.
He essentially uses the momentum of his own destructive focus to flip his consciousness.
It's a profound demonstration of the power of sustained concentration, which actually brings us to the very first word of the Valmiki Ramayana.
Tapas.
Tapas. Often translated simply as penance, but in this context, tapas means radical, focused discipline. It's the friction generated by burning away impurities and distractions.
And the text is very clear that Valmiki didn't just, sit down and dream up the Ramayana using mere imagination, right?
No, not at all. Through the absolute rigor of his tapas, his mind became so still and so clear that he literally saw the epic unfold.
He visualized it.
Yeah, the sources describe him visualizing the minutiae of King Dasharatha's court, the exact emotional state of Rama in the forest, seeing it all as clearly as one sees an amla, a gooseberry, resting in the palm of their hand.
Let me pause on that image of the gooseberry for a second, because when we hear about ancient sages, seeing things through meditation, our modern instinct is to just dismiss it as mystical hyperbole.
Right, we think it's just a nice metaphor.
Exactly. But if we strip away the ancient terminology, isn't tapas describing the absolute pinnacle of what we try to achieve today when we talk about deep work?
Oh, absolutely.
Like mastering a discipline. The complete refusal to let your attention be fractured.
It absolutely is. Consider the ascetic sages Rama encounters later during his exile. The text describes individuals who subsist entirely on water and air, having severed all ties to physical comfort.
Right.
The core principle there isn't about glorifying starvation. It's about the mastery of the mind over the relentless demands of the senses.
Yes, that makes so much sense.
Whether it's Valmiki achieving the cognitive clarity required to compose the Adhikavya, or, a contemporary surgeon, engineer, writer trying to operate at the absolute highest level of their field, the requirement is the same.
The tapas is the intentional endurance of friction.
Exactly. You have to burn away the trivial. You cannot write a timeless blueprint for humanity or achieve any state of true genius, really, if your mind is scattered across 100 different momentary distractions.
For anyone listening who is trying to build something meaningful, that is a sobering reality check. We want the clarity of Valmiki, but we don't want to endure the tapas.
We want the shortcut.
Right. We want the result without the rigorous shedding of distractions. So Valmiki puts in that excruciating work. He attains that state of flawless observation. And the very first thing he reveals to us with that focused mind is a masterclass in societal structure and leadership.
He introduces us to Ayodhya.
Yes, the kingdom of Ayodhya.
The Ramayana opens with a highly granular schematic of governance in Ayodhya, ruled by King Dasharatha. The text doesn't settle for just calling Dasharatha a good king and moving on.
Yeah, breaks it all down.
Deliberately, it breaks down the anatomy of his administration. It lists his 8 primary ministers: Drishti, Jayant, Vijay, Sarashtra, Rashtravarnan, Akop, Dharmapal, and Sumantra.
And the sages too.
Yes, alongside his chief spiritual and strategic advisors, the sages Vashista and Vamadeva.
The sources outline the exact competencies of this cabinet, and it's striking how, unsentimental and operational their qualifications are.
Highly operational. The text outlines specific, actionable traits. First, they were absolute masters of maintaining state secrets.
Which is huge. In any era, the inability to control information is the downfall of an organization.
Exactly. Second, they possessed an impeccable sense of timing regarding diplomacy and war. They understood that aggression without leverage is foolish, and diplomacy without strength is surrender.
That's a very pragmatic view of power.
Very. Third, their justice system was incredibly precise. The text emphasizes that they never punished the innocent, no matter the political pressure.
Which implies a rigorous standard of evidence. I mean, they weren't governing by emotional reflex or mob rule. They were actually investigating.
Furthermore, they managed the treasury with a profound understanding of economics. A common ancient Indian political analogy used for taxation is the bee extracting nectar from a flower.
Oh, I love this analogy.
Right. The bee takes what it needs to build the hive, but it doesn't harm the flower in the process. In fact, it aids in pollination.
Dasharatha's ministers basically extracted wealth to fund the state without crippling the prosperity of the citizens.
Exactly. And finally, they relied heavily on vast networks of spies to gather raw, unfiltered ground intelligence. They didn't govern based on what they wished to be true, but on the cold data of reality.
That structural soundness is vital during times of peace. But, a system's true worth is only proven when it's subjected to a massive stress test.
And we get a perfect example of that.
We do. Later on, when the peace of Ayodhya has been completely shattered, Rama has been exiled, he's lost his royal status, and he's living in the wilderness. His brother, Bharata, who has been handed the kingdom, tracks Rama down in the forest.
Right, he goes to find him.
And Rama's reaction is extraordinary. He doesn't complain about his living conditions. He immediately sits Bharata down and subjects him to a rigorous administrative audit.
It is a remarkable scene. Rama is essentially holding a performance review from the forest floor.
Yes, a performance review.
He walks Bharata through a highly detailed questionnaire regarding the operational health of Ayodhya.
He asks if Bharata is succumbing to the 14 flaws of leadership. And these aren't just abstract moral failings, they're incredibly specific operational bottlenecks.
Right, like what?
Well, he mentions things like anger and consulting with fools, but he explicitly highlights procrastination and the failure to execute decisions once a consensus has been reached.
The focus on execution is critical there. Rama understands that a leader can surround themselves with the most brilliant strategists in the world, but if they suffer from a failure to launch, the institution stagnates and dies.
Yeah, he's probing the efficiency of the state apparatus.
And then he drills down into something as mundane yet vital as payroll.
Oh, the payroll question is amazing.
Right. He asks Bharata, point blank, if the soldiers and state employees are receiving their wages on time. The text records Rama's stark warning. Delayed salaries breed deep, dangerous resentment.
Which is just, management 101, but written thousands of years ago.
Exactly. This specific question about wages illustrates the ancient Indian framework of the three aims of human life. You have Dharma, which is righteousness and duty, Artha, which is wealth and security, and Kama, pleasure and emotional fulfillment.
And a leader has to balance all three.
Yes. Rama is addressing Artha here. He knows that you cannot demand high-level execution, loyalty, and moral behavior from a workforce that is terrified about how they are going to feed their families.
Right, he's forcing Bharata to look at the unglamorous foundational logistics of leadership.
If you're managing a team today listening to this, this is your structural checklist.
Totally. Are your communication lines secure? Are you gathering actual intelligence or just listening to people who tell you what you want to hear? Are you delaying crucial decisions out of fear?
Are you ensuring the material well-being of the people who rely on you?
Yeah, and Rama explicitly warns Bharata against making decisions entirely in isolation. He warns against the echo chamber.
The echo chamber is the death of objective leadership. If a leader only consults themselves or only surrounds themselves with sycophants, they become entirely blind to the actual state of their kingdom.
Dasharatha avoided this by utilizing ground-level intelligence networks.
Exactly. Rama is ensuring Bharata understands that a leader actually needs the friction of dissenting, highly competent opinions to survive.
So we see the mechanics of a functioning state, we see the checklist, but as we hinted at earlier, all of this theory is tested by the core tragedy of the epic. We really have to address the massive systemic shock of Rama's exile.
The exile is the crucible of the Ramayana. To fully appreciate the scale of this shock, we must remember the context.
Right, paint the picture for us.
Ayodhya is at the peak of its prosperity. Dasharatha has decreed that Rama will be crowned king the following morning. The city is decorated, the citizens are euphoric.
Everything is perfect.
Perfect. Then, deep in the palace, Queen Kaikeyi, Rama's stepmother, cashes in 2 ancient boons owed to her by the king.
The ultimate IOUs.
Yeah. She demands that her own son Partha be crowned instead, and she demands that Rama be banished to the Dandaka forest for 14 years.
Wow.
Dasharatha is utterly broken by this, but he is bound by his word.
This is the moment where the grammar of behavior is pushed to its absolute limit. I mean, Rama is the heir apparent. He has the support of the military, the ministers, and the populace.
He has all the leverage.
Exactly. If he wanted to stage a coup, it would be bloodless and universally supported.
Eh.
His own brother, Lakshmana, is furious and practically begs him to take the throne by force.
Lakshmana's reaction is the default human response to perceived injustice. It is the ego reacting to theft.
But Rama's response is the embodiment of self-mastery.
It really is.
The source material details how his facial expression doesn't even change. He doesn't show a trace of anger or despair. He calmly tells Lakshmana that a kingdom and a forest are of equal value to him.
It's easy to read that and dismiss it as mythological stoicism, right? Like, how does a human being actually process a betrayal of that magnitude without becoming consumed by bitterness?
Right, because I would be furious. So what's the actual mechanism he uses?
Well, the text provides the exact philosophical mechanism Rama uses to protect his mind. He refuses to direct his anger at Kaikeyi, recognizing her as merely an instrument.
Yep.
He refuses to blame his father, recognizing his helplessness. Instead, he attributes this catastrophic inversion of his life to Daiva providence, or destiny.
Daiva. Okay, break that down for us.
In the ancient Indian philosophical framework, Daiva represents the unseen, accumulated karmic forces of the universe playing out. By framing the event as a cosmic inevitability rather than a personal attack, Rama completely neutralizes his own resentment.
Oh, he removes the personal grievance from the equation. He acknowledges that fighting against the unchangeable reality of the situation is just this massive drain of energy.
Precisely. By accepting Daiva, he maintains his absolute composure.
But it is crucial to note that not everyone in the text agrees with this incredibly lofty, detached approach. Which means we have to talk about the siege Jabali.
Oh, Jabali. The encounter with Jabali is one of the most intellectually robust debates in the entire epic.
Set the scene for us.
Rama has left for the forest. King Dasharatha has died of a broken heart. Harada travels to the forest to beg Rama to return and take the throne. Rama refuses, citing his vow. And this is when Jabali steps in.
And Jabali is a very different kind of thinker.
Very different. Jabali is a practitioner of a highly materialistic, pragmatic, and essentially atheistic philosophy. He operates entirely on the logic of the tangible world.
Jabali looks at Rama and essentially says, what are you doing? Your father is dead? He doesn't exist anymore? The dead do not care about the promises of the living.
Right. It's such a modern argument.
It is. He's like, you are enduring horrific suffering in a jungle out of loyalty to a ghost. The throne is empty. It is rightfully yours. Take it. It is the only rational move.
Jabali's argument is profoundly persuasive because it's the exact logic that governs most of our modern world today. It's the philosophy of pure pragmatism.
Corporate logic, basically.
Exactly. It argues that moral codes are just social constructs, and when those constructs become inconvenient or painful, they should be discarded in favor of tangible power and comfort.
It is the ultimate justification for cutting corners. If the old CEO is gone, tear up his contracts. But Rama's rebuttal to Jabali is absolutely devastating.
And he dismantles it.
He doesn't just stubbornly say, well, I made a promise. He deconstructs the societal damage of Jabali's worldview.
Right. Rama elevates the conversation from personal convenience to systemic integrity. He argues that truth is the bedrock of the entire universe.
The actual foundation.
The text records him stating that a man who breaks his word falls from his Dharma, but he explains the mechanics of why this matters for a leader.
And what are those mechanics?
He tells Jabali that the citizens of a kingdom will mimic the behavior of their king. If the leader decides that truth is flexible when it's inconvenient, that flexibility will cascade down through every layer of society.
The rot starts at the head. If the king breaks his promises for profit, the generals will betray the king, the merchants will cheat the citizens, and family members will lie to one another.
The entire fabric of trust, which is really the only thing holding a society together, disintegrates.
Exactly. Rama understands that a leader's character is the invisible infrastructure of the state. If you compromise the foundation to save the roof, the whole building eventually collapses.
That's a perfect way to phrase it.
But, this brings up a massive tension for anyone trying to apply this today. We live in an incredibly competitive, often cutthroat environment. I mean, fake it till you make it is practically a standard business strategy.
Bro, absolutely.
Companies pivot on promises constantly. So if an individual decides to adopt Rama's unyielding, rigid adherence to truth, aren't they just going to be eaten alive by the Jabalis of the world?
It is the central anxiety of anyone trying to live ethically. But we have to look at the long-term horizon here.
Okay, let's look at it.
Was Rama's choice naive? In the short term, he paid a devastating price. He lost his wealth, his status, and spent 13 years in extreme hardship. But what was the long-term yield of that sacrifice?
The moral authority.
Yes. By refusing to compromise his integrity, he generated a level of unshakable moral authority that force or wealth can never buy. His word became an absolute guarantee.
He basically traded a temporary crown for eternal credibility.
Precisely. Jabali was playing a finite game, how to acquire a throne right now. Rama was playing an infinite game, how to establish a standard of Dharma that would resonate across millennia.
For a modern individual, the takeaway is stark but powerful. Titles, wealth, and positions can be stripped away in an afternoon, just as Rama's crown was.
In a heartbeat.
But if you build a reputation based on absolute, uncompromising integrity, you create a foundation of trust that can survive any economic downturn or personal crisis. True authority is moral, not positional.
That is a profound paradigm shift, but, having unshakable integrity does not mean you walk through the world blind to its dangers.
Right.
Rama's rigid adherence to truth actually creates vulnerabilities because he assumes others will act honorably. When you are dealing with a deceptive, hostile world, pure integrity isn't enough.
You need something else.
You need supreme tactical intelligence. You need to know how to read the room, how to identify threats, and how to communicate perfectly.
Which brings us to a character who possesses the most formidable emotional and tactical intelligence in the entire epic.
Hanuman.
Yes, Hanuman. Hanuman is frequently reduced in popular culture to, a symbol of raw physical strength and unwavering devotion.
Right, the muscle.
But while those elements are present, the Valmiki Ramayana meticulously details his cognitive brilliance. He is explicitly identified as a master of grammar, a brilliant orator, and a deeply analytical strategist.
And we see this analytical brilliance perfectly displayed during a moment of massive crisis in the camp.
This is such a great scene.
Right. Rama is preparing to lay siege to Lanka to rescue Sita. Out of nowhere, Vibhishana, the younger brother of Ravana, the enemy king, arrives at the camp and asks to defect. He wants to join Rama.
And the reaction of Rama's inner circle is immediate and intense. The great warriors and generals, Sugriva, Jambavan, Angada, they look at Vibhishana and their threat bias activates completely.
Totally. They see a demon, they see the brother of the man who abducted their queen.
They operate on a heuristic, right? He's from Lanka, therefore he's an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
They advise Rama to execute him immediately or bind him in chains, convinced it's a Trojan horse scenario.
It's a completely understandable reaction. You are about to go to war, and the enemy's brother walks into your command tent.
I'd be suspicious too.
But Hanuman steps forward and completely dismantles their panic with cold, objective logic.
Walk us through Hanuman's intervention because it's a masterstroke of analysis.
It really is. He addresses the general's arguments sequentially. Some had suggested that they should accept him but set spies on him to verify his intentions.
A background check.
Exactly. But Hanuman points out the psychological flaw in this plan. He says setting spies on a man who has openly and voluntarily sought refuge will only insult him. If he's a genuine ally, you risk alienating him immediately.
Right, you don't perform a background check in front of the guy who just handed you his resume and offered to help you build the company.
Then Hanuman dismantles the argument that Vibhishana's timing is suspicious.
Because the others thought it was just too convenient.
Yeah. But Hanuman flips the perspective and argues that the timing is, in fact, perfectly logical based on observable data.
How so?
He points out that Vibhishana has just watched Rama annihilate the incredibly powerful Vali and place Sugriva on the throne. Vibhishana has assessed the geopolitical reality. He sees that Ravana's actions are leading Lanka to destruction, while Rama represents a just and victorious alternative.
So Hanuman understands incentives. He's basically saying, look at the board. It makes perfect strategic sense for him to switch sides right now to survive.
And then comes Hanuman's most vital contribution. He tells the council to stop looking at the label of demon and start looking at the actual physical evidence in front of them.
A behavioral profiling.
Exactly. He instructs them to analyze Vibhishana's presentation. He says, look at his facial expressions. Listen to the cadence of his voice. Observe his posture.
Because Hanuman understands that a person carrying malicious intent, a person planning an assassination, cannot fully suppress the internal physiological tension of their deceit.
Right. And Hanuman observes that Vibhishana's body language is entirely relaxed, his voice is clear, and his gaze is direct. There is no cognitive dissonance.
Hanuman is essentially acting as an ancient behavioral profiler, an FBI negotiator or something. He bypasses the massive prejudice of the group and focuses entirely on the data.
It's pure emotional intelligence.
And we see this exact same calculated approach to communication when Hanuman finally locates Sita. She's imprisoned in the Ashokvatika in Lanka. She's been kidnapped, she's surrounded by terrifying guards, and she is in a state of severe trauma.
Yes.
When Hanuman finds her, he's sitting up in a tree above her. But he doesn't just limp down and announce himself.
Because if he had done that, the mission would have failed instantly. A sudden appearance by an unknown entity would have triggered her fight-or-flight response.
She would have screamed.
She would have screamed, the guards would have been alerted, and Hanuman would have been captured or killed. The text spends a significant amount of time detailing Hanuman's internal monologue while sitting in the branches. He calculates the exact linguistic approach required.
He literally debated which dialect of Sanskrit to use, right?
Yes, he did. He reasons that if he uses the highly refined, courtly Sanskrit of a Brahmin, Sita might suspect he is Ravana in disguise.
Because Ravana was known to be a master of the scriptures and frequently used allusions.
Exactly. Instead, he chooses to speak in a more common, gentle dialect. Furthermore, he doesn't even address her directly at first.
What does he do?
He simply begins reciting the lineage of King Dasharatha and the noble deeds of Rama.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he allows the familiar, comforting words to wash over her and slowly dismantle her terror before he ever reveals himself.
That level of situational awareness is just staggering. For anyone listening who has to navigate high-stakes environments, whether that's a tense boardroom negotiation, crisis management, or even just a deeply fragile conversation with a partner, Hanuman provides the ultimate protocol.
He really does.
You cannot just react. You must pause. You must actively identify and suspend your inherent biases. You must read the actual physiological and contextual data in the room, and then you engineer your communication with deliberate surgical precision.
He definitely earns his title in the text. Buddhamatam Versam, the foremost among those endowed with intellect. He is the anchor of rationality in a chaotic world.
So we've built an incredible toolkit so far. We have Valmiki's disciplined focus, Dashetha's operational frameworks, Rama's unyielding integrity, and Hanuman's tactical brilliance.
It's a comprehensive system.
It is. But the Ramayana does not pretend that life is clean or fair.
Right.
Even if you possess all of these tools, life is going to force you into agonizing situations where every option feels wrong and where the emotional fallout is just devastating. So, how do we process grief? How do we execute our duties when it breaks our hearts? This brings us to the most nuanced and difficult parts of the epic.
The text forces us to confront the friction between our personal, emotional understanding of fairness and the harsh, objective requirements of cosmic duty. The most prominent example of this uncomfortable intersection is the death of Vali.
Yeah, this is an event that troubles almost everyone who reads the epic. It completely upends our conventional idea of how a hero behaves.
It really does.
Let's recap it for the listener. Rama has forged an alliance with Sugriva to find Sita. Sugriva's older brother Vali, who is the incredibly powerful king of the Vanaras, has exiled Sugriva and stolen his wife.
Right.
Rama promises to help Sugriva defeat Vali. But when the battle happens, Rama doesn't challenge Vali to a face-to-face duel. He hides behind a tree and shoots Vali with an arrow while Vali is fighting Sugriva.
It is deeply unsettling from a mortal perspective. When Vali falls to the ground, mortally wounded, his reaction is entirely justified.
What does he say?
He looks at Rama and launches a searing critique of Rama's Dharma. He basically says, you are renowned for your righteousness. You are Prince of Ayodhya. How can you justify striking down an opponent from the shadows? This is the act of a coward, not a king.
Vali speaks for the audience in that moment. I mean, how does Rama possibly defend an action that looks, by all standard metrics, completely dishonorable?
Rama does not offer an apology. He doesn't claim it was a mere tactical necessity either. He delivers a profound, legally and philosophically dense justification based on the Manusmriti, the ancient codes of conduct.
So he takes it to the law.
Yes. Rama systematically lays out the charges. He reminds Vali that he committed a grievous violation of Dharma by banishing his younger brother, whom he should have protected like a son, and forcibly taking his wife.
Rama establishes the crime. But the justification for the method of execution is the truly complex part.
Rama explains his position as a representative of the sovereign power of Ayodhya. He states that a king or an authorized prince is not just a warrior, they are the enforcers of cosmic order.
Okay, so a different set of rules applies.
Exactly. When a beast or a wrongdoer becomes a threat to the fundamental laws of society, the enforcer is not obligated to offer them the chivalry of a formal duel. The duty is simply to neutralize the threat and restore order.
But he goes even deeper than statecraft, right?
Yeah.
He touches on the theology of justice.
He does. Rama introduces the concept of karmic debt and purification.
Walk us through that.
He tells Vali that if a horrific crime goes unpunished in the mortal realm, the soul of the transgressor carries that massive, agonizing karmic weight into the afterlife, leading to profound suffering.
Oh, wow.
By acting as the instrument of justice and delivering the ultimate punishment, Rama is actually balancing Vali's cosmic ledger. He is cleansing Vali of his sin, allowing his soul to transition to the higher realms unburdened.
It is an incredibly difficult concept to grasp, that the executioner's arrow could be essentially an act of cosmic grace.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
But the text tells us that Vali, who is a warrior of immense intellect himself, listens to this stark, unsentimental logic. He processes the spiritual reality of Rama's words, his anger dissipates, and he achieves peace before he dies. He accepts the justice of his fate.
Vali finds peace, yes, but the emotional devastation in the wake of his death remains. And this is where the Ramayana delivers its most challenging lesson on grief.
Enter Tara.
Right. Vali's wife Tara arrives on the battlefield. She sees the body of her husband, the king, the father of her son. She is shattered. Her grief is absolute and overwhelming.
And once again, Rama steps into the center of the tragedy, but the way he comforts Tara is jarring.
Very jarring to a modern reader.
Right. Because if a friend of ours suffered a horrific loss, we would offer sympathy. We'd say, I'm so sorry, take all the time you need, feel your feelings. We try to validate the emotional pain. But Rama takes a completely different, almost surgical approach.
Rama recognizes that offering conventional sympathy in this specific moment will only anchor her deeper in despair. Instead, he offers her the stark, unvarnished truth of ancient metaphysics.
What does he tell her?
He tells her that the physical body is merely a temporary vessel. The soul's timeline, its arrival and its departure, is governed by destiny, by forces far beyond mortal control.
He specifically addresses the physical act of mourning, doesn't he?
Yes, he warns her against the trap of Laukic karma.
Laukic karma. Okay, what is that?
It's the exhaustive, performative rituals of worldly grief, the endless weeping and lamentation. He tells her plainly that her tears do absolutely nothing to aid the journey of Vali's departed soul.
He tells her the past is a sealed vault. Her grief cannot change the reality of what has occurred.
Exactly.
I have to pause here because this is where the ancient text aggressively challenges modern psychology. I mean, to a contemporary listener, standing over a grieving widow and telling her that her tears are useless and she needs to look at the cosmic logic of the soul. It sounds incredibly harsh. It borders on a lack of empathy.
It appears harsh if we define empathy solely as emotional validation. But Rama is operating from a paradigm of structural empathy.
Structural empathy. I like that. Explain that.
He sees that Tara is in imminent danger of being entirely consumed by a past she cannot alter. If she collapses, the kingdom of Kishkinda collapses into chaos.
The stakes are huge.
Massive. More importantly, her young son, Angada, who has just lost his father, will lose his mother to grief and potentially his rightful place in the world.
So Rama is trying to snap her out of paralysis.
Exactly. He is throwing her a psychological lifeline. He abruptly pivots her attention away from the unchangeable past and forces her to look at the immediate, demanding present.
He tells her that she has duties remaining. She must secure the future for Angada.
Right. Rama is not saying her pain isn't real. He is saying that her pain does not relieve her of her responsibilities to the living.
That is an incredibly potent piece of source code for navigating massive trauma or failure in our own lives. When a business collapses, when a relationship shatters, when you experience a devastating loss, the natural instinct is to drown in the what-ifs and the unfairness of it all.
You become paralyzed by the past.
Exactly. But Rama's protocol is brutally effective. Acknowledge the pain. Understand that the event is now sealed by destiny, and immediately anchor yourself to the duties required for the survival and prosperity of the future. You just don't have the luxury of extended paralysis when others rely on you.
It's the ultimate framework for resilience. You process the trauma through a philosophical lens of detachment, and you force your body to move forward through the engine of duty. That is how societies and individuals survive the darkest chapters of their existence.
This has been a massive journey today. We have taken an epic poem written millennia ago and extracted a remarkably coherent, rigorous operating system.
A true source code.
We started with the absolute necessity of tapas, the radical discipline required to achieve mastery. We examined the architectural soundness of Dasharatha's administration and Rama's uncompromising metrics for execution and feedback.
Right.
We witnessed how Rama generated eternal moral authority by refusing to sacrifice truth on the altar of short-term pragmatism. We learned from Hanuman how to dismantle our inherent biases and communicate with flawless tactical precision. And finally, we confronted the necessity of anchoring ourselves to duty when grief threatens to paralyze us.
The Valmiki Ramayana is just an inexhaustible repository of systemic wisdom. But, as we close this deep dive, there is one final, entirely different lens through which this entire text can be viewed.
Really? A different lens?
Yes. We've spent this time analyzing the characters and events as external realities models for leadership, politics, and social interaction.
We've treated it as an external manual. Yeah. What is the alternative?
The alternative is deeply rooted in the philosophical traditions of India. I invite the listener to consider the possibility that the Ramayana is not just an external history, but a perfectly drawn, highly detailed map of your own internal psychological landscape.
Wow. Okay. Walk us through that. How does the geography of the epic map onto the human mind?
So, in this internal reading, Ayodhya, the city that cannot be conquered, represents your own natural state of inner peace and equilibrium.
Okay, Ayodhya's peace.
Yes. Dashata, the king with 10 chariots, represents the human body, governed by the 5 organs of perception and the 5 organs of action.
The 10 chariots, right.
And Sita represents your pure intellect, your inner peace and divine connection.
And that intellect gets abducted.
Yes. Sita is kidnapped by Ravana. And who is Ravana in this internal map? He's described as a demon with 10 heads. Those 10 heads represent your ego and the unyielding, chaotic demands of your 10 senses.
So Ravana is the ego.
Ravana is the embodiment of distraction, pulling your consciousness in 10 different directions simultaneously, obsessed with consumption and control. When the ego takes over, your inner peace Sita is stolen and held captive in the turbulent, isolated fortress of Lanka.
That reframes the entire conflict. The war isn't happening on a mythological battlefield. It is happening inside our own heads every single day.
Precisely. And in this internal war, Rama represents your pure soul, your highest self. But the soul cannot defeat the 10-headed ego and reclaim its peace on its own. It requires a catalyst.
It has to have help.
Right. It must ally with Hanuman. Hanuman is the son of Vayu, the wind god. In the yogic tradition, Hanuman represents the breath prana and absolute, unwavering devotion.
So the mechanics of winning the internal war require the soul to align with the breath.
Only when your highest self, Rama, perfectly aligns with focused, devoted breath and life force, Hanuman, can you build a bridge across the turbulent ocean of the mind, defeat the scattered demands of the ego, Ravana, and finally reclaim your pure intellect and peace, Sita.
That is a staggering realization to end on. It means that the blueprint we've discussed today applies just as much to how you govern your own consciousness as it does to how you govern a corporation or a family.
It's all connected.
The question for you listening is this: how are you managing the kingdom of your own mind today? Are you allowing the 10 heads of the ego to drag you into chaos? Or are you willing to put in the tapas, align your focus, and fight to reclaim your inner Ayodhya? Thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive. Take this ancient blueprint, test it against the complexities of your modern life, and we will see you next time.